So for a long time, I've always been an introvert in the UK, and I felt like it's been really difficult to socialize. I'm someone who likes to keep to themselves, and in the UK, in Western societies like the UK, the US, this is a big disadvantage. But then when I went to Kenya, everything changed. Socializing became easier, and all of a sudden, being an introvert was not a burden. So I know a lot of introverts out there that are not really a socializing nightclub type of person, and they may feel like it's really hard to meet new people, to actually interact. And in Western societies like the UK, the US, they don't normalize social interaction. Everybody keeps to themselves. No one wants to actually go up, start a conversation with you. And today I'm going to talk about why you, as an introvert, whether you're from the UK or the US, why societies like the UK and the US might not be the best option for you in terms of building a social life and actually, getting to know people and not dying young, basically. And I'm going to compare it to what you might experience if you go to Kenya or even if you go abroad. And one of the biggest struggles that I've had in the UK being an introvert is the level of interaction I get with women. Like, okay, cool, yes. I'm not saying that I don't get any dates with women. No, I'm not saying that. I still talk to women in the UK. I'm just saying it's the volume of women that you get. Pretty much I'm an introvert. I don't go to nightclubs. I don't like going to busy environments. I like to do things like go to the cafe or go to the restaurant where it might be less busier. And I feel like that is a big disadvantage in the UK, because I feel like all the women in the UK, well, most of them, I'm not sure about the US, but all I know is that I feel like they are hiding. Like, the only time you would see 9 out of 10s, attractive women, is if you go to the nightclub. And even if you, okay, cool. Let's say you get a girl's WhatsApp or her social media, right? You're still gonna have to deal with the flakiness, the low interest, the waiting 5 hours to reply. So imagine being an introvert on top of that, you're struggling to actually find good women. Like, if you don't go to the nightclub, you can't meet or interact with women. So that just made me feel like, so what's the point in socializing? I've done everything. I've tried to go to run club. I've even tried to stop being an introvert for one day and actually go out and meet people. But still, I get the same results. And it's made me think, like, is it me? Am I the problem? Whereas if I was to go to Kenya, right, I would be seeing 9s and 10s walking on the street, in the shopping mall. If I was to go to the cafe or the restaurant, I would see attractive women. Even the workers, the people that work in the hotel or the restaurant, even them, they're attractive. So I don't know, maybe it's just me. And I feel like if I was to go to Kenya, right, because they're very sociable, they will actually want to start a conversation with you. They actually want to talk to you. It's not going to be like the UK or the US. Let's say, okay, cool, you go to a place like Kenya, especially for people that are African, of African descent, they can tell if you've been working on yourself. Because everyone is African, everyone is black, you have to stand out, and in order for you to stand out, you need to work on yourself, do things like going to the gym, to get into shape. So when I went to Kenya, I just felt like I got so much love from the women, even from the men as well, and this made me feel a sense of appreciation, and it made me feel proud, that all the hard work I've put into myself, I'm actually finally being seen. I don't feel like I'm invisible, And also as an introvert, especially in countries like the UK, the US, if you go to a place by yourself, right? Let's say you go to a restaurant or you go to a social gathering, you go there by yourself and everyone is going to look at you weird, like, why is this guy not with anyone? And what makes it worse is that they have no intention to actually talk to you. They're just going to pretend like you're not there. They're going to hang out in their own social circle, and you're pretty much going to be left by yourself to dry. Which, for example, this has made me feel like I don't want to go out. I would rather prefer to be at home than deal with that level of humiliation and judgment. Like, it's not worth it for me. And that's why I don't really go out in the UK. I have no urgency to go out in the UK because it's not like if you go out to a social gathering, someone is going to come up to you and try and start a conversation. Yes, it happens in the UK. People are friendly, but majority of the time, no one is going to come up to you and start having a conversation. I might as well make YouTube videos every day and do work. When I went to Tattoo City, I went to a restaurant in Tattoo City. I forgot the name, but it was like they were selling yamachoma, they were selling nyama choma and other local dishes. So I must have went to the restaurant, right? And me and this guy had a full-on conversation. And this was not the first time that happened. It's happened to me maybe 9 out of 10 times in my trip. When I went to the restaurant, right? I would see people actually sitting down by themselves, spending time with themselves, ordering food for themselves. So why is it different in the UK or the US? I'm not sure about the US, but I know it's very different in the UK. So it made me realize, from this experience of being an introvert and spending time in UK and going to Kenya, when I actually realized the results I was getting in Kenya compared to the UK, it made me finally realize that it wasn't me, it was the country that I was in. And it made me motivated than ever to actually leave the UK for good. Because I don't want to be 60, be single, and not interact and have no social life. That is a sad life, if you didn't know. That is literally what destroys people's lives and, ends their life. God forbid, I do not wish that on anybody, but it does happen. It was the country that I felt made me not feel seen. And until I went abroad, I actually finally felt that sense of belonging and I felt that welcoming vibe. And that's why I encourage everybody to experience life in Africa or abroad, or even go to Kenya, because you're going to actually understand that you're not the problem. And when you actually realize that, you're going to have a sense of, like, oh, finally, yeah, it's not me, So now you can actually start to build a plan to finally leave the UK or the US to actually build something for yourself. So if you want more inspiration, more motivation to move to Africa, to move to Kenya, by me telling and showing you my journey of eventually leaving the UK and going to Africa, going to Kenya, make sure to subscribe, like the video, and also comment down below what you think. Are you guys in the same position as me? Are you guys an introvert, feeling that it's hard to socialize in your country? Make sure to comment down below what you think. And yeah, peace.